even at my age, I'm afraid that people won't like me. They're just, there's a lot of weight on any title holder's shoulder, especially someone, who's of Latin descent, on the queer spectrum that's not quite gay, not quite heterosexual, in between and constantly moving in between as well. Um, I'm always afraid that people won't like me. And I'm also a little bit more alternative presenting. So I'm not the normal suit and tie wearing kind of person. I like tattoos and like piercings and like, horror and I like video games. I'm still that kind of nerdy queer person. So I'm always afraid that I'm not going to be someone's cup of tea. And normally that doesn't bother me. But in the realm of Continental, you want to be liked and you want to be digestible because you want to be, remembered by having a good reign, but you also want people to be inspired by you and want to join the system as well. So it's something that kind of weighs on my shoulder. I like to make sure that I am my authentic self, but I'm trying to be a little bit more, uh, uh, I'm going to say more, not a watered down version of myself, but something that everyone can understand because I'm complex. And a lot of people sometimes don't connect with me or think that I'm stuck up or think that I'm quiet or have an ego, but I really just am a big nerd. And if I
Mhm.
seem that way, it's because, I'm shy. That's the only
Mhm.
reason. So the hardest thing is really being able to be my authentic self while trying to connect with hundreds and dozens of strangers all at once. Miss Continental final night was overwhelming for me because you're meeting all these people in the pageant world, so many people that you respect, and it's just like for someone who's kind of like an introvert. It's overwhelming, and I'm sweating. I'm like, who's that? Should I remember their name? Like, what do I do? uh, I really had no resource. My promoters were great. But they're not holding your hand through all this. So a lot of it is like, kind of, you know, digesting a whole world of people and a whole different realm of the queer community that I had only seen from the outside in, and now I'm plunged right in the thick of it. So,
Mhm.
but I'm
Oh,
learning to
Mr.
be more
Oh,
myself.
oh, you know, Mr. Continental demands attention, and that's the way it should be when you walk into a room. You are a symbol of excellence, and you did well, and you won the competition. So stand tall there, Mr. Continental, and walk into the room like you own it and you know everybody, because you never know who you're meeting. My agent, she always says that to me. I want you to start shaking these people's hands because you never know who's who in this room. You stop standing over here and get over there. And I've learned to sort of go around and say hello. And I mean, I'm an MC. I'm more of an MC on a comedian on the stage than I am just doing drag. I kind of do everything, but sometimes when I'm in a group, once I'm done off the stage, I'm sort of like, I don't want nobody talking to me. I don't want to do this.
Yeah,
But
it's very interesting to go from, when you're a performer, I grew up in the concert dance world, so you go and you perform, you get your applause, and then you go home and that's it. And so to do the opposite, right, as a queer performer in the pageant world, you perform, but then you're thrust into the audience and then you mingle and it's just a new world, right? Whereas now there's a whole different component of artistry and socialization that you have to combine and embrace, really. So I'm enjoying the process. Overwhelming, but enjoying the process.
wonderful. Now, I want to talk about just one more thing and then we'll wrap it up because you've done excellent here. She likes it so far. So she's smiling over there. And let's talk about, are you in a relationship?
Yeah, interesting enough, I'm in a relationship with Alex Cardine, who was my first alternate. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's my first relationship in almost 14 years. Um, and I met him via the Continental System. We went to a prelim together, Heart of America in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there shortly after winning my prelim on the advice of my promoters to integrate myself into the system, introduce
Mm-hmm.
myself to Jimmy, and visit the baton whenever I had a chance. this prelim happened to be on a weekend where I was free. I visited. He was there too. We connected. We stayed in touch the whole time, and I learned about his journey throughout the continental system. He has a large, pageant family as well, and was introduced to them too, and they all gave me advice on, things as minor as how to navigate the system and how to put together a formal suit because I'm the kind of person that's always in a muscle shirt and denim. That's my aesthetic. And so over the process and of the summer and getting closer to Continental, we confided in each other over our fears and our goals and our passion for performance and for the system, really. And we got just so close. And we competed together, which is unheard of because I understand now that families, don't compete in the same system at the same time. It's a mutual respect, I suppose. Um, but we did this together, and I wouldn't have changed everything. We were a strong support system for one another. Especially, I think this was his 10th anniversary at Continental, and it was my first time. So we were able to kind of absorb each other's energy there. And shortly after the pageant was over, we made it official, and now we're a full-fledged couple.
Well, wonderful. That is amazing. In the last few years, I've interviewed quite a few Miss Continentals and Miss Continental Elites and different um, people within the system. And I found you very interesting, and you're quite talented. And when she was talking to me about you, she's a very detailed kind of a person. So she saw the passion in you that you probably don't see. But when you watch the video, you can see you have a real passion and charisma about what you do. So this is why you were chosen to be Mr. Continental, because for me, just watching you for the first time, I thought that you were fantastic. Nothing, not anything to take away from your lover. I mean, or your boyfriend or your partner. But from just watching you, you could see that dance passion, that thing that's in there that says, I love what I do. And this is a great thing. And Continental really embraces that because they are looking for talented and true performers that can help make the system strong. And I think that you did a fantastic job. And you should be very proud, both you and your partner, of your accomplishment. So I would say to Mr. Continental, stop hiding, start shaking all those hands because that might open up a door for you that you might be happy that you did down the road. And I just want to say in closing, what's your advice to other young men and okay. Oh, she wants me to ask you one more before we close. Let's t- we want to mention this because we think that it's relevant. As you know, a few years ago, Donald Trump owned the Miss Universe pageant, and there was a trans woman that entered the Miss Universe pageant. Do you think trans men should be allowed to enter Mr. Continental?
Yeah, I actually do. I feel like all that's being asked of Mr. Continental in terms of the package, like I mentioned earlier, is that you present those tenets of Continental, right? Which are simply the swimsuit, the formal, the talent, the Q&A and interview. And those tenets are interchangeable with any gender. Whether you choose to not identify with any gender, quite frankly. So I don't think there should be necessarily, a separation. If you feel like you can present these tenets within the parameters and that are being asked of you, I feel like you definitely should, and the system is young, and in the grand scheme of national systems, this is the 20th anniversary for Mr. So I know there is room for growth there as well. And I don't think there's any, I'm still fresh to the system, but I don't think there's any necessarily any pushback there. Again, what
Mhm.
I talked about earlier, I think what needs to happen more is just more of a dialogue, and educating, the people in charge about why and the benefits of it as well. Because again, the more inclusivity, the better for our queer, universe. Really, it's so broad. I hate to even limit it to LGBTQIA plus. Plus, it seems like it's leaving some people out. So it just our queer family just needs to feel embraced on all ends, really. No closed doors for anybody.
Okay. All right. And in closing, what's your advice to dancers and up and coming performers, like you said earlier, that might not fit the mold of the aesthetics of Continental, but yet they still want to enter and be part of the system, or they want to compete in the system, or um, just be a part of the Continental family?
My advice is caution to the wind. Enter. That's kind of how evolution happens, right? One cell enters and it spreads and it mutates and we adapt. And that's what happens with anything really. Enter, display who you are. You'll connect. Someone will see you and be like, "Oh, there's opportunity for me." They'll enter and then more will see that and then more will see that and then the system and every system really, any social unit, quite frankly, will adapt and it'll evolve and it will learn to be something different than what it was. And the only way that will happen is if you take initiative and step in and present you.
Wonderful. I want to say, Mr. Clinton, you're very smart, and I enjoyed talking to you today. And she was smiling a lot during the whole interview. So obviously, you're doing very well with answering the tough questions that she wrote here, because she made it very clear. Because last season, she sort of said, "You keep pussyfooting around, and I don't want you to do that. Get right to these questions, direct questions, and stop being scared." So I'm learning to be a little bit more direct now, and the shows are getting much better with me being more direct instead of trying to save face. And we getting the straight answers from our community that we need to hear and we need to understand. And like we said, information is very important. I want to just say congratulations to you, Noels Ark, Mr. Continental 2024. Today on the show, everyone, we had Mr. Continental on the show talking about his journey to Continental. And then we brought up a few issues about our community that we think are concerns for him as a citizen and a person living in Los Angeles and living within the gay community, and his journey to Mr. Continental, which is a very big part of our community, and they do great things for us as entertainers and gives us an avenue for opportunities beyond our wildest dreams. And like he said before, you never know who you're going to meet, so start shaking those hands there, Mr. Continental. And and I want to just say thank you so much today, Noel, for being on the show. You were fantastic, sir.
Thank you, Steph.
I won't hold up any more of your day. And we will make sure that we get a copy of this out to you, and you can, do as you wish. And I just want to say to the Continental family, thank you guys so much. You have embraced the show so much. So many of you have been on the show, and so many of you are coming up on the show. And I want to just say thank you to Noels Ark, Mr. Continental, for not knowing me and giving me an opportunity to interview him, to share his story with our audience and the world. And I want to say thank you to the Continental family in general and our community. You guys are fantastic, and you're holding up really well through all of this stuff. So stay strong, stay positive, and just keep it moving. And together, we just keep connecting, sharing information, and helping each other out. We'll be okay. And congratulations again, Mr. Continental. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Stephanie. I look forward to talking again.
All right. Bye-bye. Fantastic. Fantastic. Fantastic, eh?